you guys a question about as actors being activists. How do you feel about? Do you have a responsibility to not just be actors but also be activists?
Yeah, I always thought I had a responsibility. Well, you know, I was always active. I mean, politically before there was actually a gay political movement, which happened after Stonewall, and then it became an AIDS movement after that. And my activism mostly happened because I had so many friends who were dying, and the government was doing nothing about it. And I thought, what can I do? I, a mere writer of fart jokes, what can I do? And I realized that we could raise money for the various charities and for political movements that were encouraging more money for AIDS charities. So we started doing shows. Literally, you know, like Mickey and Judy, I put on a show. And at the beginning, nobody wanted to be involved in it because AIDS was a pariah. They didn't want to even discuss it. So I would trade off with other diseases. I would go to some star who did cystic fibrosis, and I'd say, I'll write your show if you'll do my show. And so that was how I became acquainted with all the major diseases. Just ask me. Myasthenia gravis, I could tell you all about, because I did that dinner every year. Mm-hmm. And bit by bit, I discovered that I was an activist. I discovered I was recruiting people to be part of all of this. And when you get so wrapped up in it, you know, you find that it kind of takes over because the significance of it is so important. I mean, the most important figure in AIDS activism in the world was Elizabeth Taylor. And Elizabeth, because of her friends who died, got involved in it. The last 20 years or 30 years of her life were more about that than anything else except maybe jewelry. You know, she did like her jewelry. But, I mean, it took hold of her because she realized that she could take all of this celebrity that she'd banked for years and years and actually use it for something that was more than just stumping for a certain candidate or whatever. It was creating awareness and actually raising money. So she was my inspiration, because if somebody as self-indulgent and crazy as Elizabeth Taylor can become a political activist, anybody can become a political activist. And you know, I mean, we're lucky that she did what she did, because now that she's no longer around, and there's nobody who can pick up the phone and call the Pope and say lay off, as she actually did. I mean, the Pope will, you know, the Pope took her call. I think it was the jewelry, frankly, but because he's got quite a collection. But
and the dresses.
And the dresses. Yes. Well, you know, he gives them to the Cardinals.
The hats.
But, right.
Well, so let me ask you this question: how is your relationship, or how do you work with actors that you know are gay that choose to stay in the closet?
Well, you know, I have. Most of them usually come out at one point or another. And funny enough, they usually come to me first, and they'll ask me, you know, what they think, what I think they should do, or how they should go about it. You know, I understand the turmoil that takes place, and I understand the fear that really takes over them. You know, they really just want to work, and they want to be able to do what they love to do, and they want to come out. It's just this fear of you know, of not being allowed to work, that doesn't allow them to do it. So I'm very gentle with them, and I you know, I support them in their journey towards coming out. You know, I can't insist on anybody doing what I did. You know, I mean, I can't tell them, you know, this is how you have to do it. Because in the end, if they come out before they're ready to come out, they could actually do a lot more damage to us than if they did. You know what I mean? I mean, yeah. They need to be prepared for what happens, which is they're going to be asked a lot of questions, and they have to be able to answer those questions confidently and speak for a whole community sometimes.
And Bruce, within that conversation, you know, society, and particularly Hollywood, wants to put a label on someone. If they sleep with a man, they're gay. But there's a whole realm of sexuality which a lot of people don't want to have a conversation about. So a lot of actors may fit within that realm of sexuality. They may sleep with a man but not identify as gay. It becomes complicated, and you probably have seen that in your career.
I've slept with them all. What do you mean?
Well, we know that's how you made it to the top.
Well, exactly right. And the bottom and the middle. And there are lots of places to go. Well, yeah. I'm trying, you know, it's such a loaded question because, I mean, when you say, I mean, somebody who doesn't identify as gay but sleeps with men, I don't know what he is.
Well,
I mean,
you know, I'm referring to the Kinsett scale of sexuality. There's, you know,
Yeah.
gay and there's, you know, curious, bi-curious,
Yeah.
I mean, right, we don't, there's a lot of labels, so that it becomes confusing in that area.
I know, but I've always, it's another conversation. I mean,
No, it's a conversation right now. We're gonna have it.
no, well, I've always found bisexuality to be an idiotic concept. I don't believe it. And then whenever I meet bisexual men, I say, who's the last woman you slept with? At the prom? I mean, you know, it's horseshit to me. It's just, unless you're 20 years old and you're experimenting and you're sleeping with French poodles as well. I mean, basically, you know what you like and you go after it. And if you're living in denial, then you invent yourself as a bisexual. That's my personal opinion.
As someone who has a lot of bisexual friends and who's a part of the LGBT coalition, I'm a little offended by that comment, but because they do exist, you know. But
I'm
my
sure you
question
are,
is- but
and
my but yeah, you know, just like there's a lot of gay people who say transsexual people don't exist, and that is actually what my question is. I remember, like, years ago, there used to be this thing called blackface in the media, where like white men would dress up as black people and paint their like minstrels, and it was very dehumanizing. And right now, there's this thing in Hollywood now called transface, where basically they're hiring men to dress up and say they're transsexual. And last year there was the Ticked Off Trannies movie at Tribeca, and there was a big protest about it. And so and it was a gay director.
That was done in Dallas. That's not Hollywood.
Well, you know, Tribeca Film Festival is considered, you know,
By you.
capital.
By you. That's not Hollywood. When you say in Hollywood they did this. That was an independent feature made in Dallas.
World. But anyways, my question is, like, right now, transsexual women, a lot of gay men are making like dehumanizing images of us and mocking us. So my question is, like, what can the transsexual female community do to inspire the gay and lesbian community to be more compassionate to us in the media and in film, in Hollywood, in Dallas, in Tribeca, wherever? Thank you.
I would say speak out as you've spoken out. I mean, other than that, I caution you against painting with a broad brush.
Like saying bisexual people don't exist?
Yeah, no, but I believe that.
Well, I believe that.
I don't think that's a broad brush. That's my life experience. That's all. That's my life experience. I'm older than you. You're young. A lot of people do things when they're young, and as you get older, that stuff peels away.
Well, I will say
but that's just my feeling.
I'll say this. I think that to depend on anybody outside of one's own community to tell your story is never going to be as powerful as your community telling your
That's
story.
true.
And so, you know, just like we need to be telling our stories. If as gay men, we need to be, as gay men of color, for instance, if I want to see more gay men of color on TV and film, I need to start writing and directing those stories. And same has to be said for transgender and transsexual people. You have to start writing those stories. You have to start directing them. You have to start collecting the money to get them made. And that's the only way anything gets done. You have to take the initiative to get it done. We can't depend on gay men or lesbians or straight people to tell those stories. Because first of all, they're never going to tell them as well as you are.
I've only got a few minutes left, so quick question.
Just really fast, is there still a practice in Hollywood of blacklisting actors who are openly gay?
Blacklisting?
I don't know. I don't know. Is it?
I don't think.
God, I hope not, because rent is due.
No, I don't think so. I think that that's also something that never really existed. I mean, I think that there were. It comes down to each individual case, each individual role, and each individual project, and who is up for it. So, I don't know of any big movie stars who are gay, who are denied parts because they are gay. I think it comes down to the basic: can he kiss the girl? Is the audience going to believe it? And I think that I once said to David Geffen years ago, I think that you should to some action star, if you'll come out, I will produce your next 3 movies at your regular fee. I'll guarantee you that your career won't go away because I want to support this. And he said, it's a great idea. Who do I go to? And there was nobody really who would want to say I was gay because they weren't. I mean, they may have gay episodes in their life. They may, I mean, you know, it's all individual. It's never as black and white as it appears. So it's a tough question to answer. I don't think. I think that what years ago, yeah. I mean, but ancient history there was a blacklist, sure, because there were lots of things years ago. There were black and white water fountains in the South years ago. So that was part of all of that.
Just one last question before we go. So, guys,
They're going
up. As we approach the election coming up, it's going to be ugly. It's going to be heated. How involved do you think Hollywood should be in the election process, and are you going to be involved in that?
I'll support Obama, and I'll do whatever I can. You know, I already written jokes for him, so I mean that's what I do. So you know, it's not like he's asking me to be Secretary of State. Yeah. I've written jokes for her too. So
yeah, I worked on the campaign last time, and I will work. I'm already committed to working on the campaign this time, and you know, I'm a fan of the president. I think he's, first of all, was dealt a really bad hand. I love that, you know, they're like, well, it was the worst economy in 50 years. Give it to the black man. We'll blame it on him later. So I mean, you know, and I think he's done a lot more than our community even gives him credit for. Can he do more? Absolutely. And it's our job to, you know, keep his feet to the fire. You know, but he did have political realities that he was contending with. You know, a super majority in Congress. Hello. You know, he couldn't even pass anything with 51 votes. He had to pass it with 60.
But he'll get the Hollywood vote behind him. He'll get the Hollywood power.
yeah,
Except for Matt Damon, you know.
But Matt likes him.
No, didn't you remember the fight? They got a bit of a fight.
You know,
I just wanted to say to your comment about Dancing with the Stars as we exit, Nancy Grace, who's a good friend of mine, I worked with her for years, is our biggest ally, and yet the right wing supports her so much, but they don't realize that she's the most liberal, completely liberal person, and it's
even with
they're supporting her in Dancing with the Stars.
Even with her tit falling out of her dress, they still like her.
For controversy.
But has she been vocal about her support for us?
You know, that's a good question. And is
she a closet supporter?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, well, I'll work on that. I promise.